What's up, guys? This is Rise, and welcome to another video. One that, thank you for your patience on. We're going to recap my match and my run from the 2024 Pokemon Go World Championships. For those that don't know, I compete in the Play Pokemon circuit over the course of the year, compete in different tournaments. I had a lot of consistent finishes in top 5, top 7, where I was able to rack up championship points, which placed me, I think, 3rd overall in North America and 6th overall in championship points in the world. To qualify for the World Championships, you need 500. I think I settled somewhere around like the 11 to 1200 mark. And the very end of the season, at the end of the regular season, I was able to win the Los Angeles Regional Championship, which also would have given me an auto qualification by winning a regional tournament. So overall, a pretty successful regular season. It would have been considered a little bit disappointing by my standards if it wasn't for that LA regional win at the end. So that was a really cool way to cap off the regular season. But we fast forward to Honolulu, Hawaii, where the best of the best from all throughout the world come to play, come to win the World Championship. $20,000 on the line for the world champion. And we get into things. And everyone was anxiously awaiting what the bracket was going to be. It flipped like 10 times. So at a certain point, I just kind of stopped looking and said, whatever it is what it is. And I would say I actually got a pretty favorable quote unquote bracket. At Worlds, everyone is amazing, but whether it's like buys or no shows, or maybe someone from a different region that maybe doesn't necessarily go up against the same competition that I'm used to going up against, I would say maybe I got a favorable bracket. You could argue, because if you see in round 1 here, I go up against BBK Yus with a lot of zeros, also known as Hugbat or like Hubat. And he was a super nice guy from New Zealand, one of only 4 players to qualify from New Zealand. But if you think about it, right, if only 4 players qualified from New Zealand, that's probably a pretty small pool of players that are competing to get that invite. Versus, you could argue, I think maybe the competition pool in North America might be a little bit stronger, a little bit deeper. So Hugbat was a super nice guy, and he even admittedly said he's only been playing PvP for like a year or so. So I would say in that first round matchup, definitely had a bit of an experience advantage. And although I actually lost lead in both games, I recognized that my Poliwrath on my team was really strong and was able to safe swap it and win both games in that first matchup, which put us in round 2 against Snork, a terrific battler from Poland, who's definitely beaten me in grassroots formats. So I knew he would be a tough opponent. However, he wasn't there, and he registered a team, so he was still on the roster. And I sat down at the table, and I had kind of heard whispers that he wasn't there, but you don't want to like get your hopes up that you're going to get a win, you know, because every win matters so much. So I just kind of sat there, took my time, and eventually, after like many minutes went by, I was awarded the win because Snork wasn't there. And he even sent me a message saying like, I can play remotely, which was kind of funny. So we win against Snork, which sets us up against Z's Wireless in round 3. And the reason I'm not breaking down these battles is because none of these were on stream. You're not allowed to record or like send yourself footage to the battles off stream at the tables. So that's why we're just going through these quickly. And then there's going to be one battle, one match that I was able to get on stream that we're going to be able to go through in this video. Z's Wireless, one of the best trainers, not just in Europe, but probably in the world. And he always runs some really unique stuff. And it was no different in this tournament. Now, I will show you guys my team momentarily. And one weakness I knew my team had going into this tournament was Dragon. I knew I was kind of soft to Dragon. Specifically Shadow Dragonite, I was really scared to see, but I was kind of willing to take the gamble. You know, if I see a Shadow Dragonite, it's going to be difficult to beat, but I'll try my best. I didn't see a Shadow Dragonite, but Z's Wireless ran a double Dragon team with Shadow Gyarados, Dragon, quote unquote, and Shadow Dragonair, neither of which I really had an answer to. He didn't even really need to utilize the Shadow Dragonair because running those two together would be pretty glassy, so it kind of makes sense. So he was able to utilize the matchup advantage he had with that Shadow Gyarados. In addition to that, also outplayed me. I think maybe there was a couple things I could have done differently that maybe would have given myself a chance in that series. But he had one nice catch. I remember catching a Zap Cannon onto his Skeledirge, and also was able to just pretty much utilize Bulk and Shadow Gyarados. He ran like Cresselia, Skeletor, Shadow Gyarados, and just save shields for the Gyarados, which I had no answer for, which you're going to see when I pull up the stream match and show my team momentarily. So Zweilous sends us to the losers bracket relatively early, and I'm someone that's like pretty confident, right? Even if I have a negative matchup, I feel like I can normally figure out a way to win certain matchups. And huge hats off and credit to Zweilous for developing such an obscure but also like core breaking strong team that I feel like if I played him 10 times with our two teams, maybe I could have won one game. Like, that's just how much of a disadvantage I felt at in that matchup, where a player of his caliber, it's going to be very difficult to defeat with such a tough team advantage. And that, I think, speaks to the difficulty of Worlds, is you have players from all different regions running their own take on the meta, their own stuff, and you never really know what you're going to run into, and you can't really cover for everything. So maybe Worlds is just about trying to build the most balanced team possible, where you don't have any huge major weaknesses. I think that's kind of what Axon tried to do when he won his world title, is build just a very safe meta team and just try and outplay everybody and be on your A game. I went a little bit in a different direction. I went with more of a core breaking type team, but we get sent to the losers bracket where we face off against Ztarb, who I had waited in line with for hours the previous day to get our competitor check-in gear. So really cool, really nice guy. And I was able to take him down 2-0 in that series. I think I maybe lost lead game 1, and he may have not had like an obvious answer to my safe swap, which allowed me to flip things. And then game 2, if I remember correctly, was like pretty decisive. So it was an interesting tournament where almost all my matches were like pretty decisive. Whether I lost 2-0 or won 2-0, I didn't have a single set in this tournament, spoiler alert, that like went to a game 3. And then we go up to the next round where we face off against S. James P., a player who I have a tremendous amount of respect for as a person and also a player. Got to hang out with him a lot over the course of this weekend, which was a lot of fun, and get to know him a little bit better. But SJ is the Indianapolis regional champion, the first tournament that I got to cast as a Play Pokemon commentator, and just a really cool guy. And what was funny is he was complaining to me all day that he was really weak to Poliwrath. He's like, damn, dude, if I see a Poliwrath, I'm screwed. And what do you know? We end up facing each other, and I have a Poliwrath. So it wasn't like he didn't have an answer to it, because he did have Gligar Annihilate, so he had 2 answers. However, it was the fact that his other 4 Pokemon were like weak to Poliwrath. So it was like Guzzlord, maybe Whiscash, Reggie, and I forget, Licky. Like, it was a team that was like 4 times weak to Poliwrath, but had 2 answers. So it almost made it where he had to bring his 2 answers, and it made it a little bit predictable. And to be fair, I think he ran some lines, like line 1, I think he was ABA strong against it, and I just happened to bring it as my second Pokemon, so I was able to line it up where I needed to against Lickitung maybe. And then in my second game, he tried to do ABB, so he led Gligar, I remember. He tried to lure out the Poliwrath with, oh no, it was Feraligatr, not Lickitung. Feraligatr. That's right. So he lured out the Poliwrath with Feraligatr to try and set up his Guzzlord as a sweeper. But recognizing that, I actually, instead of throwing energy at Feraligatr, I took a Hydro Cannon, I shielded once, and completely farmed it down. And then Poliwrath comes out with 2 Icy Winds loaded for the Gligar, which just puts him in a tremendously difficult situation. So I think he came up with some really solid strategies. Not to toot my horn, but like that maybe could have worked against some players, but I was able to recognize what he was doing in the moment. And SJ like kicked my butt so bad in practice, and also I think he beat me every single time I played him, which was 2 or 3 times in like grassroots formats. So I was able to get one against him here with a slight team comp advantage, I think, on my behalf. And this sets up with a match against RockHaven, which was on stream. And I in my third world championship. Had never been on stream before, believe it or not. In 2022, I lost round 1 to a player I had never heard of named Godon Hada, who ended up finishing second place in the world. And because I had to climb through the losers bracket partially, I never got on stream because they're more inclined to show the winner side of the bracket. They did opt to show like a few loser side games day 2, so like they could have showed me, but they didn't. They decided not to. But yeah, so that was the first year. The second year, I went 2-2, so I was down on the loser side pretty quickly again. Didn't get on stream. This was the first time I was able to get on stream at the World Championships, which was an exciting thing for me. So now this sets us up on stream. This is towards the end of a long day. It's probably around 6 p.m. or so local time. I had to wait for at least 5 or 6 matches to go on the stream before this match. And you know what was funny is I had some people that had played against my upcoming opponent, RockHaven, that had offered to give me details or maybe what he was running, insight. And I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want any of that. Not because I find that like, I don't know, like dodgy per se, but because I don't want to be sitting there thinking about like what my opponent potentially was doing. And the reason I don't find that dodgy is because you could potentially play someone that had been on stream and see their entire match before. So like, I don't think that's necessarily like a cheating or against the rules type thing. But a couple people like offered to like tell me what he did against them. And I was like, no, thank you. I just want to see what his team is. I don't want to know what he's running. I just want to go with my gut, go with my vibes. Because oftentimes I find like that has better suited me in these situations. Even when I'm preparing for a day 2 match, sometimes I like just not scrimming these days and just kind of looking at the matchup and going with my intuition. So yeah, this sets us up with RockHaven. And I think Caleb and Butters here do a great job of kind of setting the scene of this matchup and kind of the storyline behind it. So we're going to take a listen to what they said in the build-up.
But we have 2 NA players facing off coming up next, so we got at least 1 more NA player making it into day number 2.
It is 2 NA players, but they actually have a lot of battles between each other. Is that right, Caleb?
That's right. It's going to be RockHaven versus Rise to Occasion. Rise to Occasion, one of the biggest names in Pokemon Go PvP. The only trainer to win 1 regional every single season, and that cannot be matched by anyone else besides him next season, I guess. But second place at North America International Championships last year as well, and one of the few trainers to qualify for World Championships 3 years in a row. He's looking for another top cut performance here. He made that top cut in the first year in 2022
I wasn't talking
in London,
about this.
but
Them
fell a
tooting my
little
horn.
bit short last year in Yokohama, looking for some redemption. But he's sitting across RockHaven, a lesser-known player. However, Rise to Occasion knows him very well. He's faced off against RockHaven 2 separate tournaments, and I believe both of them were in top cut, and he's actually 0-4 against RockHaven. So hasn't taken a single game off RockHaven so far in their 2 series. So
yeah, so I played RockHaven in Peoria earlier in the season, and he 2-0'd me and knocked me out of the tournament. And then I played him again in pretty much the same situation, like top 8, loser side of the bracket in Toronto, and he 2-0'd me again. So he was 4-0, hadn't taken a single game off him. And honestly, if I remember correctly, the games weren't like that close. They were pretty dominant for him.
Is the tweets, because I want to head on over to social media to see what you have been saying about the tournament.
They do
and
a
it
few
is going to
tweets.
be DeFi, our fellow cat. I am Bravebird on the Talonflame. We saw that earlier in the tournament as well. I overheard Valor.
I was like so in the zone as we prepare for the match here. Let's see if I scroll back a little bit so you guys can see the teams first. There we go. Yeah, I'll touch on it in a sec, I guess, after the teams. But this was my team on the right. Cresselia, Shadow Whiscash, Registeel, Shadow Poliwrath, Goodra, and Talonflame. And if you guys want to get my full team building process, I think I'm going to make a separate video for it, members only, for like the second tier and above. And then eventually I'll probably upload it as a public video as well. So that's going to be like my next thing after this video is taking you through that full team building process. RockHaven was running Abomasnow, Clodsire, Annihilate. This was actually a mistake on the graphic by the production team. It's actually a Lantern instead of a Registeel Water Gun Lantern for Alligator and Mandibuzz. So my Poliwrath looks really good, right? Annihilate is really the only solid check to my Poliwrath. And the Talonflame I thought looked pretty good as well, because of course it's afraid of Feraligatr. But one theme of my team, right? I figured Water Gun Lantern might be like one of the most common, if not the most common Pokemon in this world's meta. It's very difficult to bring Water Gun Lantern against my team. Rise, what are you talking about, Water Gun Lantern? I just said, Dylan, it's not Registeel, it's Water Gun Lantern on RockHaven's team. It's very difficult to bring Water Gun Lantern against my team. Cress, Whiscash, Poliwrath, Goodra all do really well. It really only has one target it's looking for in the Talonflame. So I felt like Talonflame looked really good because even worst case scenario, it sees Feraligatr. It has the ability to threaten Feraligatr with energy. So that was kind of what I was thinking here. Also, the Whiscash looked awfully safe as long as it avoided the Abomasnow. So you're going to see the line that I like to go with game one. And Abomasnow is pretty like hit or miss against me. Like Poliwrath, Talon, Reggie are all terrible. So it's kind of got 2 targets, 3 counters, and then like 1 neutral matchup with Cress. Let's skip ahead a little bit. Oh yeah, and I was so locked in. I think the I think the judges were like telling me to lock in, and I was like not even hearing them. I was like waiting. It was almost like I was waiting for them to give me the go ahead, and then like they told me like, Rise, we need you to lock in. It's like I almost didn't hear them. Like I was waiting for them, but I almost tuned them out because I was like thinking so hard about my line. So apologies to RockHaven, who's a fan of the channel, by the way. Apologies to him for like making him wait a little bit, because I like was so locked in, I like almost tuned out anything that I was hearing. But here we go, game number 1.
Flame, that was pretty strong, but guess what? It's not too strong into the
so we lead Talonflame into Feraligatr, like the worst possible lead, except for a Lantern, I guess. So I'm forced to safe swap the Whiscash here into the Feraligatr. He decides to Hydro Cannon and then go Mandibuzz. So we're going to Scald the Mandibuzz, go for the chip. And now at this point in my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of bad. If it's Annihilate in the back, I just lose. If it's not Annihilate, maybe Poliwrath can put in a lot of work. Let me put my face up here so you can see the team graphic. So that's basically what's going through my mind right here. So I come in instantly. You notice I come in instantly with the Talonflame, because Talonflame is kind of dead weight for me. All I'm hoping to get out of Talonflame is to get rid of the Mandibuzz and maybe fire off a charge attack against the Feraligatr. That's kind of what I'm going for here. I know this is just an Aerial Ace, so I'm willing to take this. But this is looking really bad. We go for the Fly, hoping this knocks out, and then I can just fire off a Brave Bird against Feraligatr and dip. It doesn't knock out, so I aggressively swap. He swaps as well to not give me the extra move. Maybe he thought I would go for another Incinerate. And this situation right here proved to be a situation where practice helped, because I think a lot of people would have maybe elected to throw the Scald here. But I don't do that. I commit to a counter down. And once again, if it's Annihilate, I need this energy to give myself a chance. I need the energy to give myself a chance. I'm not sure what it is at this point. It's the Clodsire. I go for the Scald first, and he elects to let it go. This does a lot of damage. I've got so much energy. I can back-to-back with the Icy Wind. This will get the debuff as well. Finally pull up a Protect Shield from RockHaven. We've got such low health on both Poly and Talon. But in my head, I'm thinking, he can't really mud shot down my Talon. I could have maybe shielded here and then gone for the icy win and the combo play, but I like to let it go. I let it go. One incinerate. Throw the fly. Turn the commentators up a little bit. And right here, I know that he knows I'm one away. And I actually didn't even wait. I did not even wait here. I just committed to keep incinerating. And you see the little mean mug. You see the little mean mug. Like my guy Giannis. I don't show too much emotion. I like to keep it like calm, cool, and collected as possible. But I was really proud of that win. And also with the amount of respect I have for RockHaven, considering he's really given me the business in our previous meetings, I was really happy to pull that one off. Mean mug, little snarl there. I was happy with that one.
A worst case scenario for Rise Acacia as well. Feraligatr into Talonflame, coming in with Whiscash, but finding a way to sweep on the backs of the Talon. Registering that fast. What an absolute.
They gave me a nice little graphic here, which is kind of cool. Rise to Occasion, first Pokemon trainer to win an event 3 years in a row. If you exclude like the seniors division, that is true. I think you could technically say like Emmy Weedle, right? Because he won Worlds in the seniors division, and then he won Stuttgart, I believe it was, and then he won UIC this year. So if you exclude the seniors division from 2022, when they had like the younger folk in a different division, that is true. The only person to win an event 3 years in a row. So that is pretty cool. And then once again, this end game here, you can see actually don't stop tapping. I don't wait. I just make the call that he's going to go for the catch because he kind of has to, right? And also, my biggest pet peeve, as some of you know in this game, is sometimes when you stop tapping, the game stops visually updating. So I didn't want to put myself in that position where I stopped tapping, the game stops visually updating. That actually happened on day number 2 to PvP David, I remember, which kind of costed him a game, which is really sad. But I just called that he was going to go for the catch and was able to get the Brave Bird. RockHaven also waited a turn, as Butters mentioned. Oh, got a little bit overzealous here, but here we go. Game number 2. And we get a very positive lead. Poliwrath into Feraligatr. And once again, I am going to play this the same way I've been playing it in this tournament. Gonna shield the second Hydro Cannon, excuse me, and go for the full counter down. Getting ready to unload this energy against whatever comes in. However, pause, it's the Lantern. I've got 2 Lantern answers in the back. And if you look at RockHaven's team, the only thing that Cress really doesn't want to see is Mandibuzz, but like, because Reggie doesn't exist. So Mandy is like bad, but not that bad for Cress. And the announcers, when I give up switch here, kind of make a big deal out of it. They're like, oh, now he can line the Mandibuzz with the Cress. However, this is kind of what I want, right? Because now the Goodra is going to be aligned with the Lantern in the back, and I have all that energy saved on Poly, where as long as I get this into like Icy Wind range, which I should be able to do with landing 2 Moonblasts, I should be in a really dominant position. Moonblast comes through. And I think at this point, RockHaven was not expecting the Goodra in the back. I'm not sure what he was expecting because I don't think he could have been expecting Talon, because I would not have been able to give up Switch here unless I like made a mistake, I guess, if it was Talon again. But Dark Pulse is going to knock me out. And then right here, state of the game, doesn't give me the Icy Wind. And look, I yell. I said, don't lag. I yelled it, don't lag. And I apologized like immediately. So I yelled, don't lag there, because my Poliwrath should get off that Icy Wind. But because the game didn't give me the opportunity to, I'm forced to use this Protect Shield. And then you see me there. I say, like, sorry for yelling. My apologies. And one of the judges actually issued me a warning after the game, telling me like, "Hey, Rise, like I know it was like heat of the moment, but like you can't yell. That could be distracting to your opponent." And I'm like, my apologies. Like that's out of character for me. It was honestly just like an emotional reaction because I felt like I was in a really good spot, and I didn't want like that to create a situation where it would end up being a rematch. So I apologized for the quick little yell there. He catches my Icy Wind on a Lantern, but I knew this was a possibility, and I was fine with this because I have 2 Icy Winds anyway. So this was totally fine with me because I can still keep an Icy Wind for the Mandy. We are down 2 shields, but this shows you how dominant with the debuff Goodra is against Lantern. It looks like these water guns are only doing 1 damage. I'm pretty sure these water guns are only doing 1 damage each. The Surf does nothing. Little shake of the head from RockHaven with how little the Surf did. And yeah, I'm like, quote unquote, baiting the Aqua Tail. But as Butters, the commentator, pointed out, like, he has to shield. If he doesn't shield, I just probably commit to Dragon Breaths. So I'm perfectly fine just going straight Aqua Tail here. Aqua Tail is also like a more efficient move than Thunder Punch, so the difference in damage isn't like extraordinary in this situation. Thunder Punch, of course, would do a little bit more, but we're just going straight Aqua Tail. He swaps to clear the debuff, probably hoping he can reach the Aerial Ace, but not quite. In game number 2 here on stream, I don't think a whole lot RockHaven could have done with these 2 lineups, other than maybe like stay in. But that's so difficult, right? Because if he stays in Lantern against Cress, I don't think that's going to be great for him either. Because then I still have those Icy Winds loaded for the Goodra, or for the Mandibuzz in the end game. So that was nice to capture my first win on stream at Worlds, and my first match on stream at Worlds. This set us up to make day 2 at Worlds, making Top Cut, in which I was facing off against the C2U. And to be perfectly honest, I really liked my matchup against C2U. I felt like it was neutral / positive for me because my Poliwrath once again had a lot of play. My Talonflame had a lot of play. However, C2U basically ran some really, I wouldn't say obscure lines. In the moment, they felt like obscure lines to me that didn't make any sense because they were very weak to Registeel. So C2U essentially had a team that was really soft to Poliwrath. His best 2 answers were Annihilate, Clodsire, Altaria, and that's what I was expecting for him to run. So based on that, expecting Annihilate, Clodsire core, I benched the Registeel. C2U, making the call that I was going to bench the Registeel, completely disrespected the Registeel and ran ABA weak to it both games. He ran Altaria Skarm, and then he ran Lickitung Altaria. So like really soft to Reggie. If I had led Reggie in either of those games and maybe benched the Poliwrath, I think I would have won. So in the moment, I was like, I can't believe he brought the Skarm, and I can't believe he didn't bring the Annihilate. Just completely threw me off. However, he had a really clever idea of just getting like shield advantage with Altaria and then like setting up where the Skarm or the Clodsire could handle the Poliwrath. So also like game number 2, if I had led Poliwrath, he would have been in trouble. But the thing is, I can't really bring Poliwrath and Reggie together against Annihilate teams unless I'm like gonna swap one of them to lure it out, right? So C2U actually won 18 consecutive games in this tournament after losing round 1. Just an incredible run from him, and a lot of respect for him. I think it's the first time we've played in like a competitive setting, or at least in a play Pokemon setting. So major respect to C2U. Knocked me out of the tournament, and I had a few people say, "Oh, sorry, Rise. Like, sorry, like disappointing loss," but like, you can't be disappointed with day 2 at Worlds, man, against all the best battlers in the world. There's a lot of amazing trainers that went 0-2. Just the way statistics work, right? 25% of players are going to go 0-2 in these tournaments, and some of those include people that we would consider maybe the best players in the world, or the best player in the world. So I'm really thankful to make day 2 to join a class of players that have 2 world's top cuts in the first 3 world championships. I think that's a very short list. Got a little bit of swag for making top cut. Didn't get quite into the prize pool in terms of cash prizing, but that's all right. And we're going to be back at it in this new meta and such. So this is a really long video for only 1 match breakdown. So I'm sure some people are not going to like it, but I'm sure a lot of people will also like the thoughts surrounding everything that was explained and such. So all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, comment down below. All comments are appreciated. And join channel memberships if you want to support me and also get some exclusive live streams and content that you can see first before anybody else. All that said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.